When you think about it, ROM hacks are kinda like prostitutes. There's a high chance of viruses, it's technically illegal, but heck, you're never gonna stop me from doing it! Everyone knows I like me some Pokemon, so let's cut the crap and start already with one of my most requested hacks to date, Pokemon Clover. Pokemon Clover is a non-profit fan-based parody, blah de blah de blah. The game ahead is full of offensive humor and shitty 4chan memes. Oh, I can already tell I'm going to hate this. So the game starts off pretty much the same as Pokemon Leaf Green. See the professor, get your starter, do the stupid parcel quest, and explore. However, there are a few differences. For one, you have two rivals, your typical Gary Edgelord and this girl called Kexandra.
That was a bloody epic battle, TVA Diamo fan!
Who is an utter twat. Then there's also the original Pokemon, and like most Fakemon hacks, it has its ups and downs. The starters look pretty cool. This one is called Grasshole. Your pun amuses me. But then there's of course the big selling point, the humour, which as I have stated before, is 90% shitty 4chan memes, and can I just get real with you for a second? I fucking hate memes. This game does have some good parody humour, but for the most part it's 420 blazing Konami codes and get good. But even if you are one of those quote-unquote people that do enjoy memes, there are a couple of legit criticisms I have with this hack. For one, the start of the game is really boring. It picks up a bit around the second gym, but for the first 3 hours, it really isn't fun. Also, your rivals have the annoying habit of spamming metronomes, so battles seem a bit more luck-based than they need to be. I'm also not a fan of the soundtrack. Some of it's from Leaf Green, some of it's original, and some of it is a bit-crushed remix of Darude Sandstorm. And thus, the dead horse was beaten even further. But other than that, yeah, I guess this is pretty good. It has enough original ideas to stop being too close to the source material, but it does run a fine line. If you can sit through the first 3 hours or so and are not physically repulsed by the mere existence of memes, then yeah, you'll probably like it. The next hack I want to talk about, suggested by commenter Mariah, is Pokemon Topaz. This game starts you off not as a trainer, but as a new recruit of Team Rocket. And you know how in the official games people question why a 10-year-old child would leave home on their own? Well, try to explain to me how a 10-year-old child got involved in organised crime. Then we can talk. Joking aside, it sounds like it could be a fun concept. It isn't. Most of the NPCs you talk to don't really care about you being part of Team Rocket, including the police for that matter. But something that could be more interesting is the original Pokemon. In fact, this is an entirely new Pokedex to explore and collect, over 200 original Pokemon to catch. And only most of them are shit. But an even weirder alteration they made is changing the names of all the moves your Pokemon can learn, but they aren't exactly smart about it. Like, Absorb has just been changed to Energy Suck. And given the kind of humour this game has in it, I don't want to be around for whatever the creator changed the name of Eruption to. Unfortunately, there really isn't a lot more to talk about. At its core, it's just way too similar to the base game. The fact that being part of Team Rocket doesn't mean anything really shows how much wasted potential there was. What if I stole people's Pokemon instead of catching my own? What if I held a Pokemon Center hostage? I don't know, just let me do something illegal for God's sake! Sure, the routes and gyms have changed, but everything feels annoyingly large and disconnected. When you come down to it, you're playing Pokemon Ruby in a much more boring world with some pretty boring fake Pokemon. Seriously, could this guy just not draw eyes? And on to the next hack, Pokemon Mystery 9. The thing that drew me to this hack was that you don't play as a Pokemon trainer in this game, instead you play as a Zora. That alone is smart, and it really shouldn't be. Playing as a Pokemon is something I've never seen in a hack before this one, and it's only a simple sprite change. That's how basic it is, and yet barely no one else has thought of it. It's not even like it's a unique idea. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon does exactly the same thing. The entire world is just a story of wild Pokemon without trainers. Now, I would like to go more in depth with the story, but there is a problem. It's Spanish. Last time I tried to read dialogue from a Spanish hack, it was Pokemon Quartz, and a hefty portion of people in the comments thought my accent reading a foreign language was a bit sketchy. But unfortunately for those people, I love being racist. Al parece Zapdos se dirige para donde Ninetales. Se remeja quella siga. Zapdos! Oh, fuck this word. Devolveme le medelas que robusta. Si crees que la te la devolveme ni sosunes. Oh, just out of curiosity. Does anyone in the comments know I can find a French hack? Only offending one nation of people is nowhere near enough for me. But we can ignore the story, it's gameplay that matters, right? Whenever I look for a new ROM hack, there's always one thing I look for the most, and that's a completely original world. I've walked around Gen 1 and Gen 3's world so many times by this point that it's become redundant. I crave exploration. Fortunately, this game does have a brand new world. I just hate it. Instead of having a big interconnected world to roam around, you instead go through sort of mini dungeons. That again is a different idea that I welcome, but the dungeons themselves are fucking boring. It's not like Mount Moon or Rock Tunnel where there's multiple paths with twists and turns you can get lost in. Instead, these dungeons have you walking around a lot of one space-wide paths laid out in a grid system, each path leading to a very small room. To progress, you basically have to find the stairs and go to the next floor, but there's no direction given, and I would have more fun exploring the outside of my fridge. It's just a case of wander around, deal with random battles, find the stairs, realize you needed to find a switch first, wander around even more to get the switch, and then wander all the way back so you can go up the stairs and repeat the process on 5 more floors. This isn't deja vu, this is deja fuck you. I'll give them credit though. They did add different gameplay themes to all the dungeons. The first one is shit, the second one is bullshit, and the third one is utter bullshit. And since you aren't a trainer, they had a way with trainer battles and catching Pokemon to build your team, so don't bother getting excited about those aspects. Mystery 9 was a nice idea, but very poorly executed. Next up is Pokemon Ruby Destiny Life of Guardian, suggested by commenter Azra. I don't appreciate that tone of voice, by the way. You better be nice if you want me to like you. So it starts off with your main protagonist being enrolled into a Pokemon Academy. Not a bad premise, but considering the female character looks like an over-designed anime protagonist, I just hope this isn't going to turn into a crappy high school show. Quite quickly, you come across a woman running away from the game's main villain, the Dark Organization. Careful not to strain your brain muscles on that name. Beat the bad guys, receive your Pokemon, question why this woman gave you the Pokemon when she was supposed to deliver them, and go about the game. Right off the bat, this has all the hallmarks of a really great hack. The world is original, there's a small handful of original Pokemon, and even the existence of side quests. The first hour, and this is already looking good. It even has good characters and actual lore to the world. That kind of stuff is really hard to find outside of official games. But as the story goes on, you start to realize little things. For example, the first hour and a half of gameplay didn't involve any trainer battles other than story events. It also didn't give me any Pokeballs until I had played at least 90 minutes. Weird that a hack of a game based around catching and battling has a distinct lack of catching and battling in it. Another thing I noticed was the existence of these weird stones. You can talk to them wherever they are and they'll tell you where to go. I thought this was a neat idea in case I ever forgot my objective, but then I realized you pretty much need to talk to these stones because you will rarely get given any direction outside of using them. I know I said I liked the supporting characters, but I think it's a bad point when the NPC I remember most fondly was an unnamed rock. But these things aren't game breaking. I can learn to live with them. But something I cannot live with is backtracking. This game is utterly polluted with backtracking. Let me just give you an example of what I had to go through. Let's say I started the game at place A. From there, I travelled to place B and then to place C. When I got to place C, I had to travel back to place B via a little house in between the two. We'll call that house place D. When I got back to place B, I returned to place D, which took me to place E. Place E was the academy the game had built up so much. There was certain to be a fair amount of stuff here. Nope. Spend 10 minutes getting tutorialized, then you're thrown back to place C. Now this is where the bullshit happens. From place C, I had to go to place A. I literally had to talk to a single NPC in place A. It was then I was sent back to place C again. When I returned to place C, I had to talk to a single NPC again, and where did he want me to go? Place A! So I trekked back to place A, which gave me access to place F. Where did I go after place F? Oh no, go on, guess. Guess. Where do you think I went after I went to place F? Yeah, it was fucking place C, wasn't it? I passed through place B 8 times in the first 4 hours of gameplay, and only on half of those occasions did I actually do anything there. Because of all this backtracking, I was going through areas with wild level 2 Pokemon when I was already packing a team of 3 level 17s. But what about using repels? Could I use those? Well, since there's so few trainers in the early game and markets have higher prices than normal, you won't have a lot of money. Taking into account what I spent, after 3 hours of gameplay, I could afford maybe 4 repels. Well, considering my character doesn't have any school grade qualifications, I guess it makes sense for me to have no money. But do you know what the real kick in the nuts was when it came to backtracking? When I entered the Safari Zone, there was an Abra I could talk to that offered to take me across 3 different areas of the park. The guy making this hack knows how to program teleports into the game, but only gave me them in the one place I didn't want them. Hey, Abra, could you teleport me to this ROM creator's home? I want to punch him in his face! And even though I didn't really enjoy this game, it still falls under the best category when it comes to reviewing the best and worst Pokemon hacks. A lot of hacks tend to be made by amateurs, so when it comes to quality of gameplay or polish, it's oftentimes rare to find. I'm not the biggest Pokehack aficionado out there, but I know what I like. I've played well over 20 hacks by this point and could genuinely recommend maybe 2. With that in mind, let's look down to the deepest bottom corners of the internet to try to find the most obscure hacks possible. The next hack I want to talk about is Pokemon Stadium Advance, a quote-unquote remake of Pokemon Stadium for the Nintendo 64. Although I felt a bit skeptical at first, I was actually pretty excited. Pokemon Stadium was my first experience in the Pokemon franchise, and I still love it today. By my opinion, it remains the best looking Pokemon battle simulator out there, and with the superbly sexible Ted Lewis doing some of the greatest voiceover work I've ever heard, it's a fun game. But that was designed for the Nintendo 64. A game like Stadium surely wouldn't translate to the GBA. There was no way this was going to be any good, but you know what? I was pretty surprised. It's even shitter than I thought it was gonna be. Okay, so fundamentally, Stadium can be a tedious game. The entire game is just battles, and that can get boring for some, but for me, the over-the-top presentation and genuine challenge is enough to keep it exciting. Once you can find that experience down to the Game Boy Advance, you lose half the charm. And realistically speaking, this isn't a remake, it's a reimagining. They added new Pokemon to include up to Generation 3, which would be a nice touch if it actually went anywhere. The N64 version would allow you to transfer Pokemon between your Game Boy game and the N64's cartridge, but if you didn't have the main series games like me, you still had a rental system. Advance does have a rental system, but it's a bit buggered. For one, selecting your Pokemon is done by walking into rooms and picking up the Pokemon you want. The problem is, you have to walk up to each individual Pokeball to see what Pokemon is inside. Now, to be fair, all Pokeballs are in numerical order, but fucking hell, I don't know the entire numerical value of the Kanto Pokedex. Also, the rooms you can walk through will go all the way up to number 411, but in reality, you can only choose the first 160, the other rooms are empty. In fact, some of the names aren't even spelled right. Zubat becomes Zubat, Venomoth becomes Venomath, and Ninetales becomes Naruto. Ha ha, very funny, my name's Bugs Bunny. Then there's also the problem that you can't see what moves each Pokemon knows before you pick it up. Then there's the fact that natures are implemented into the game, which is going to send the competitive players crazy, and not forgetting that you can pick up duplicates of each Pokemon on your team, so don't be surprised if I walk around with 6 Mewtwo's by my side. And before I go on, I'd just like to say, when I feel compelled to write an entire paragraph solely dedicated to how shit the character selection is, you probably did something wrong. And heck, pretty much everything else is screwed up as well. Pokemon Stadium had exaggerated animations and graphics that still hold up. Advance has stairs stuck in its walls. Stadium had one of my favourite soundtracks ever, with music that could be both upbeat and intense. Advance has music that cuts out randomly. Stadium had a huge gauntlet of gym leaders, Elite Four, and a final battle with your rival to finish everything off perfectly. Advance's final battle has a level 0 glitch that faints the first turn it's out. And all in all, I think this game was over in about 20 minutes. I searched for more, but I didn't find it. I was under the impression I was playing the 1.1 beta of the game, but looking at it, I want to know what the 1.0 beta looked like. And for this final hack, I'm going to preface it with a story. For those of you unfortunate enough to have looked at my Twitter account, you may know that Pokemon isn't actually my biggest love. My actual favourite thing is Yu-Gi-Oh! I loved the card game and all the shows. I don't think there was ever a time in my life when I wasn't in some way invested in the franchise as a whole. It's because of this I really wanted to find a Pokemon Cross Yu-Gi-Oh! Hack. While there's a couple out there either in early development or flat out cancelled, I did find one that seemed big enough to try out. Again, it's basic Pokemon Ruby. Do a couple bits, then get your starters. Your options are a weirdly small debris dragon, a Blue Eyes Toon Dragon missing part of its wings, and Gaia, the fucking really? That's the quality of sprite work we can expect from this hack. All they did was cut around the card image and stuck it in. Not only are you doing such a bad job, but these are the starter Pokemon. These are supposed to be the best of the best you could muster because they are the first thing you see, and that is what you go for. Okay, never mind, let's just see if they did anything interesting with the battle mechanics, and Jesus fuck, the Spanish are taking revenge! The rest of the dialogue is in English, so what happened here? Okay, ignore everything. So this is Pokemon crossed with Yu-Gi-Oh! The game is virtually the same as Pokemon Ruby, but all Pokemon are swapped for Yu-Gi-Oh! Monsters. At base level, that's what you should expect, but when it comes to which Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards are swapped for what Pokemon, there seems to be a lack of rhyme or reason. Take Whismur for example, a pretty pathetic Pokemon in terms of appearance that you might find in the early game. What dual monster would you associate that with? Karibo? Swordsman of Landstar? Because the creator of this hack thought it should be Yubel, a level 10 monster that was also the primary antagonist from season 3 of the GX TV show. Because that's the balanced! Why is the Ojama yellow in this game? Look at it. Fucking look at it. Another thing I'm really confused on is the soundtrack. Oh, it's exactly the same as the game it's based off, but the times in which each song gets played is different. Take Rustboro City, a pretty peaceful early game town with peaceful music. But in this hack, it plays the theme usually reserved for legendary Pokemon! Currently it's playing the battle theme for Regirock, Regice and Registeel! It's really unfitting and doesn't match at all! What were they thinking? The hack also changes some of the typings of Pokemon and the power of the moves they can learn. One such example is that the move Psychic is now more powerful than the move Explosion. And it's pretty much normal game from here. They add characters from the show into the gyms because, yeah, Tay Garden is the character I most associate with having Exodia. It's just a normal hack with stupid music and stupid choices and it's nothing what I wanted. And did this guy even watch Yu-Gi-Oh? I mean, what is this? There's nothing here, no custom stuff and shitty photoshops, and why does the Ojama Yellow evolve into the Dark Magician Girl? It's just, no! You take this, no! Are you absolutely retarded? What the hell are you doing? This is not supposed, it's not you!
Guys, have you ever considered we might be wasting our lives?
Hey, thank you to everyone who suggested these hacks, and if you want me to do a video on absolutely anything, leave a comment on this video or talk to me on Twitter at SirFlashCake. Also, if you really want to be my friend, share this video, it will really help me out. Thank you!